So as people are piling in here and filtering in, I'm sure everybody's either getting zoomed out at this point. We're here at Business Unusual, our first day of fall, which I can't believe it's the first day of fall already. Although I do happen to love fall. My co-host Peter Klein has a conflict today, so it's going to be me and the Honorable Kristen Jarnagin today. I've been super excited about this episode. I've been waiting for it for a while. I'm glad we got a date for it to work out, because as I go back to March 9th and 6 months ago, I can vividly remember feeling like I got hit in the head with a bat, watching all the progress I had made at my firm and here on Long Island, and nobody knew where it was going to go. And one of the first people I thought of was you, right? Because for so long here on Long Island, particularly folks that are committed to economic development like I am, we had such a void in the travel and tourism industry, and getting advocacy out there for it. And people just don't realize how super important that is to a region's economic health and vibrancy, particularly here on Long Island. And leading up to March, so much progress was being made by you and your board and your team, and the promotions you were doing, that it was super exciting, really, to watch it come together, and to watch somebody who isn't even from Long Island totally get Long Island and be able to really put it out there for the rest of the world to see. And that was something that I appreciated. And so I made it a point to say, hey, we need you to survive. We need you to survive, and we need you, Kristen Jarnagin, to stay in that spot, which was already riddled with so many challenges pre-COVID, which we had talked about. But here you are, and I'm hanging on to you. I'm not going to just let you go.
Thank you.
Right? But turn us back a little bit. Turn us back to that, to the beginning of this all, and how you sort of went through that time as well.
Well, I want, first of all, to tell you how much I appreciate your kind words and your support, not just today, but throughout this, and you are, I've been very privileged since coming to Long Island from Arizona. It's been 5 years, almost 5 years in November. And having been a transplant, I have been so embraced by this community, the business community. And listen, there's skepticism. Everyone's like, sure, we've tried that. Good luck. We can't do that. A lot of that, right? I'll never forget when I was first announced as the new CEO of this position, Discover Long Island. That was back when you could read the comments in Newsday. They still allowed comments. And luckily, no one knew anything about me, so they weren't directed too personally to me, but everybody was like, oh, good luck here, NIMBYism and taxes and traffic and all the negative things about Long Island and why we would never be successful. And I'll never forget one of the comments, and I hold on to that still. It's like, you're not in Scottsdale anymore, Dorothy, And so, yes, I was met with a lot of skepticism based on, previous failures of not only my organization, but, the region. But I think what we've shown is that when you believe and when you do the hard work, you can have great results and come together as a community. And having someone, like you said, come outside and get Long Island, I'd say Long Island gets me. I mean, I'm not for everyone. I can't go to a destination somewhere, that doesn't understand my level of intensity. So I really feel like I love New York, and New York and Long Islanders actually get me and have really embraced me. So I love being here, and thank you for that. And we made a lot of progress. I mean, the first year I was here, we rebranded the organization. You might remember it was called the Long Island Convention and Visitors Bureau and Sports Commission.
Yeah.
And now I say that, everybody laughs.
It was so memorable, I forgot. But yes, right. I remember
Everyone
that.
laughs when I say that, Dave. Like, people didn't laugh. That was the name of this organization. So we rebranded to Discover Long Island. We had done a lot of research of who our target demographic is that has the highest propensity to travel here. And we speak very carefully to them, because when you have a ridiculously small budget like mine, you have to be very targeted and specific. You don't have a dollar to waste. And just to talk about the budget, just let people know, we are the tourism promotion agency for the region. We are a private nonprofit that is contracted with both counties to represent the region of Long Island. And we are funded by when visitors come and stay at a hotel. These days, some of us are Long Islanders. We're our best visitor right now. But usually if people from outside of our residential area come and stay at a hotel, there's a 3% occupancy tax on your bill. Of that 3%, we get less than 20. 80% goes to the counties. They use it for various other things. Both counties are different. So we are outspent, even though we are a $6.1 billion industry here on Long Island that employs more than 100,000 local jobs, second only to New York City in New York State, and larger than most major metropolitan areas across the country, to be honest. We don't invest in tourism. We are outspent by Lake Placid, Rochester, Buffalo. I always like to say Niagara Falls spends $1.5 million more a year than I do. And they have one attraction and everyone in the world knows exactly what it looks like. So you can understand our challenge of trying to educate people who think they know about Long Island, but really most people outside of our region have no idea of the depth and breadth and all that our community has to offer. And it's so large and diverse with so many stories to tell that we need the money to tell the stories. So we were already at a disadvantage, but we'd come a long way. We had great branding, our new Belong campaign, and everybody was really behind it. And we had a press conference slated for March 17th to announce our new economic development plan, right, where we brought all 8 IDAs together for a new marketing campaign for branding Long Island beyond tourism and into proactive economic development, which you said the word, it's a void. And that's the word I always use. Internally here in the staff, we use the words world domination. Right. That's what we're after. But externally, that doesn't always, fly. So we call it finding the void and filling it. And that's what we aim to do as the brand of the destination. So as far as Long Island goes, I mean, it's a big job. It's a very important brand. It's not only for visitors. And the reason why we do promote tourism, I always like to say this because people sometimes don't like tourists, is because when visitors come here, for every $100 they spend on a hotel, they spend $212 in that community. Right. And those tax revenues that are retail, restaurant, transportation, those tax revenues generated more than $740 million on Long Island last year, state and local. And that's what keeps our taxes and services, manageable. I won't say low, but manageable. Right. So, we do that for that reason, but there's nobody else out there promoting Long Island. And we are controlling our brand. And if we're not telling people who we are, then they're going to come to their own conclusions. And that's usually not necessarily always positive.
Yeah. So I wanted a couple of observations, right? So one thing is you're clearly a warrior, right? I know warriors. You're clearly a warrior. You're a fighter, and I love that. I love that very much. We had a call this morning, an event that HILI was putting on. So Terry, Alicia Maselli is another warrior. And one thing that I think that you both are able to do incredibly well is take a shoestring budget and make it look like you have the biggest organizations out there, right? You do such a terrific job. And I think sometimes that hurts because I think people think you have more resources than you actually do because you're just so damn good at getting things done and promoting that people think, oh, well, they got a plenty of resources and there's other things. But I was shocked pre-COVID to learn how few resources you guys were getting. And why I think it's important for us, especially the business community, to understand it is, and this is a lesson we learned from COVID, is if we don't have these wonderful things alive and vibrant on Long Island, then it is kind of boring. You're kind of just sitting in your house and you could be anywhere else in the world, right? Why we're on Long Island is because we want these experiences that are going to drive tourists here. And then we need those tax revenues, so really talk about how we need to get this thing moving forward now, because it's been really tough.
And you said so many right things there, but the brand of where you live is really important. And when we did our new branding campaign, and I encourage everyone, maybe Lauren can put it in the chat or something. If you go to Discover Long Island's page on YouTube, We have all of our great videos, and if you go to discoverlongisland.com, we have great visuals. We did a perception study. We had Longwoods International do a perception study of Long Island a couple years ago to help guide our efforts. Because I could tell you, coming from outside the region, the people don't even know. I mean, everyone knows the Hamptons, but the majority of people outside of this Northeast corridor, they don't realize that the Hamptons are on Long Island. Hamptons are somewhere where Cape Cod and Martha's Vineyard live, all these wonderful, fabulous places. So the brand of Long Island, and the perception study proved this, it really validated what I thought was true. Long Island actually has incredible name recognition. It was the highest out of all of our comp set, including San Diego, including Charleston, including major places that we've heard of. But the next level, what do you know about Long Island? It was little to nothing. Everybody thinks Long Island iced tea, Long Island medium. If you're our generation, Long Island Lolita, whatever. People think Long Island City. The majority of people that you talk to will see that Long Island City sign, and they think that that's our destination. And please know, technically, I know that it is, but not from a tax base. So we have a lot to overcome. And the problem is if you're not out there branding, if people have a misperception of your brand, which they do, because we don't spend enough, and it blows my mind that from an economic development standpoint, that we have 8 incredibly effective and wonderful IDAs that work tirelessly to retain business. We're not out there promoting economic development. So here we are at an opportunity right now. As COVID happens, there's challenges, but there's opportunities. And the opportunity is people are rethinking their business model across the globe. People are fleeing urban areas for more suburban areas. We have an incredible suburban area with access to New York City, major airports, commercial water transport. We have so many wonderful things, but right now what we're having to do is we don't have the brand. If we had that really awesome, positive brand, we would be able to completely capture the momentum happening right now. And we're still doing our best to do so, but it's adding another step of, because we haven't invested in our brand for Long Island, then you have to overcome that hurdle first to even have people think about you. Like, why would I want to go there? So we're working on that. And in fact, we are just this month, for the first time ever, we are the intelligence report in Site Selector magazine, which Site Selection magazine is a national publication that goes to 48,000 very targeted C-suite business decision makers. And it's a pull-out piece all about Long Island. And I just saw it first for the first time yesterday, and it's really incredible. It talks about the refreshing thing that's happening here, the excitement, the momentum, what we have with Brookhaven National Labs and manufacturing, and again, this exodus from urban areas that people are interested in, and we're getting on the grid right at the same time. But if we had a really strong brand that everyone immediately thought positively about, like where I came from, Scottsdale, right? You say Scottsdale, and everywhere I go, people are like, oh my God, Scottsdale, why would you leave Scottsdale and come to Long Island? And listen, Scottsdale is a beautiful place. I love it. My friends and family are still there, but Long Island is 10 times more beautiful than Scottsdale is. I mean, our seasons, the ocean, the beaches, the fall colors, and our proximity to New York City and the Hamptons and New England. And we have so much to offer here. We just need to make sure we're communicating it effectively and widely. And that's what we're trying to do on a shoestring budget. So, yeah.
I thought it was brilliant that you were partnering with all the IDAs. I don't think people really truly understand the value that the IDAs bring to Long Island. People think it's some weird thing. And this, Long Island Economic Development Collective with all 8 IDAs here on the island. Talk about that a little bit. How did that come together? What is the mission? How are you going to be driving that forward?
So, we've worked closely with the IDAs. That came from my experience in Arizona, where, economic development and tourism work very closely together. They're in the same building, they align their brands, but they have a very proactive economic development strategy there, and they understand it's happening in the tourism. When TGen decided to move their biotechnology campus to Scottsdale, they called, economic development called us in tourism, and we put their doctors on helicopters over Sedona, and we really wooed them. And that's what you've got to do. And so working in tandem like that, I come from a destination that just always does that. So when I came here, you know, one of the first things I wanted to do is establish those relationships with the IDAs, and they're all terrific, but there was no Long Island brand. So you had Suffolk County and Nassau County and Brookhaven and Islip, but when you go outside of Long Island, if I'm somebody that wants to move my business to this region, I didn't know what Islip was. I mean, we were calling it the Islip Airport forever when I first got here. And I'll never forget when my sister was bringing my kids here, because I came here 2 months before to find a place to live. She got on the plane and they said, okay, next stop, you know, we're going to Islip. And she had a panic attack because she thought they said Iceland. Like, she's like, I thought we were going to Long Island, you know, and we take so much for granted. We just assume everyone knows about us, and we're not saying Long Island. So it came together because we worked together very well already. Like you said, we all recognized the void. It had been tried before. I think the Long Island Partnership had been kind of tried, but there wasn't a central organization that could really take the lead and be that person that was willing to do it. And so I think we rose, my board of directors, you know, I came to them with the idea. They understood the value of it based on the perception study. All of our data kind of showed us this. We know that when there's this thing called the destination management cycle. And when you create a place where people want to visit, you create a place where people want to, let's say, like, we create a place where people want to visit, you create a place where people want to live, right? Before they decide where they're going to live, they want to visit there. And you're like, oh my God, I love it here. I can move here. And then when you do that, you create a place where business wants to be. And then you create a place where people have to visit because they have to come and do business work. So we're all in this together. We all work together. And it came together really after we did our Belong campaign. Because when we did that brand, Belong on Long Island, it's not just about visitors belong here to you know, to do fun things. It's about technology belongs here, innovation belongs here. And the other thing that campaign did was it answered the problem that I was listening to from Generation Next and what the LIA's work was doing, talking about our youth. Our youth didn't want to be here because you said, it's not cool. You know, who wants to live? It's not been boring. You know, go to the city. So creating that community pride where I belong, and this is where my roots are, and this is where I should be. You know, it kind of met all of those things. And so we had the Belong campaign. We had a post-Amazon moratorium meeting at the LIA. Yeah. We were talking about, we lost Amazon. And while we might think, you know, that's New York City, the rest of the world thinks it's Long Island City, which is Long Island. So we were definitely being perceived as crazy, not business friendly, all of those things. So what can we do? And you know, the IDAs really came together. They collaborate all the time, and they came to me and us, and they got a grant from National Grid, an economic development grant. So National Grid came to the table, believed in the project, and they said, let's come together. So we rebranded to the Economic Development Collective. It's now on our website. We're actually having the press conference, I think October 6th, to officially announce it again. We're doing a digital campaign. We now have a website, and you can get a sneak peek of it if you go to discoverlongisland.com/business. We have a LinkedIn page. We're going to be doing a lot of marketing, and it's a one-stop shop that promotes Long Island. And then once you're interested, funnels through, and it takes you to the IDAs where they can close the deal. But you know, we're just trying to fill the void. We're trying to help our community. That's what we did during COVID as a tourism business. We halted all advertising, paid advertising, because we can't bring people in. You know, we lost all of our international visitors. We lost all of our national visitors. New York City was on lockdown, our #1 visitor, and people were locked in their homes. So what do? We changed everything, and very similar to what you all did at HIA LI. What do our businesses need? What does our community need just to stay alive? So we did some inspirational videos. We attacked it in phases. The first phase was, some people did, we're in this together, you know, stay home. We actually did what we were calling hold fast. Our first phase was hold fast. And we did an inspirational video. You can see it on our YouTube page that she posted. And we wanted to use a Long Island Mariners phrase, something that really spoke to our local audience. And hold fast is about putting your head down, seeing through the storm. We'll get through this, right? And it was great. Just being there is inspirational, helping with congressional webinars. I know you did the same thing. Financial aid, how to get help when you need it, how to get legal advice. We did all of those things. And if we came out of it, once we came out of it, our next phase we called renewed gratitude.
Right.
And so then we have a renewed gratitude video, and it's, you know, all the things that we took for granted, going out to eat,
Yep.
going to the vineyards, being able to just, you know, hug your family. We're going to hug tighter. We're going to laugh louder. And that was kind of the next phase. And now we're, you know, we're branching into that recovery now, that strategy where we're relaunching the Economic Development Collective, and really trying to communicate safety, because now people can go out, but there's still fear.
Yep.
I mean, there's still a lot of unknowns. Everybody's wondering, what does the winter hold? What about when indoor dining? And then some study comes out that says indoor dining is, you know, is dangerous, and it's like such a flawed study. So we did a couple of things to alleviate that. We partnered with Dr. Michelle Reed, who is on Newsday all the time and on News 12. She's a board certified medical practitioner as well as a best-selling author, and she is now our official health and wellness ambassador. And she guides our industry, but also communicates to visitors that it is safe and this is how you do it. These are precautions that you take. And then we launched our Be Safe Pledge that, again, 100% free. If you go to our website, we have a travel confidently section, and you can take the Be Safe Pledge, which is based on CDC guidelines. And once you do, you have access to free signage that you can post in your business that says, I took the pledge. And we also start promoting you on social media, it promotes you on the page, all the businesses that have taken this pledge. And we have over 100 that have done it. And the idea is to let people know when they see that signage that this business prioritizes safety. And it's really cute. The signage is like a little crab, and he's wearing a mask, or he's holding a surfboard that's like, stay 6 feet. So it's welcoming and fun, as you know, our tourism brand should be, but it's also training people to look for these signs and training our businesses to understand what they should be doing. And our businesses have done, as you know, just an incredible job. I'm so proud of all of our businesses, from the mom and pop to the big, you know, the big major industries. They're working so hard to keep our residents safe and to keep their businesses open.
Yeah, it's been very challenging, walking that fine line between, you know, personal health and safety and fiscal health and safety, right? And it's been draining. So you're a high energy person. You are you need to be moving. I can see that you got to constantly be moving. So a lot of our viewers have struggled and trying to stay motivated and trying to stay optimistic moving forward. So how have you managed if you roll back from March to now, like how have you personally managed your energy, your motivation, your sanity? You know, I feel I've lost mine several times over these 6 months, but how have you been able to do such a good job with that?
Thank you. You know, it's not easy, like everybody, right? We're humans. And I think the first thing we do is I acknowledge this has been it continues to be an emotional ride. And not just for me, but we all look at our children. You know, I moved here with my 2 daughters that are now 13 and 16. And you see it through their eyes and so many of the things that they've missed. My children are back in school now full time we're at Ward Melville, and thank goodness, it's so awesome for them. I'm so, again, the teachers and the first responders, I feel so like what we're doing is, you know, difficult, but I feel what they've done is really remarkable. So I think the first phase that we went into it was triage. And I remember, you know, at the time you talked about staying, you know, what we've done on a shoestring budget, same with HIALI, is I remember my board were kind of like, okay, Kristen, you know, the onset of it, let's lock down, let's cut everything, let's just reserve resources, make sure, lay low kind of thing. And I was like, no, we can't do that. You know, we've got to be more visible than ever, because the dust will settle and people are going to look back and say, where were you? And if you weren't there when I needed you the most, why do I need you at all? So that was kind of the mindset, is to make sure that we were everything to everyone. And we stopped our partnership model. We allowed everyone to have access to our resources for free at no cost. And it's been really amazing to see a lot of these businesses that pre-COVID, some of the restaurants, you know, mom and pop restaurants are like, I don't need you. What do you do for me? And now they get it. Now that they've seen, it gave us the opportunity to show our value. So it was triage, it was adrenaline. And then you come out of it, and then coming back into the office was really exciting, you know, and then that kind of was another injection of motivation. I think I'm motivated by my team here that is so passionate about what they do, and they're working so hard, and they come in and they're excited and they're creative, and I get motivated by them. I get motivated by the support of my board, who really is like, they now come to me and say, you know, wow, thank you so much for everything that you're doing. You make us proud. I get excited by the businesses that we're able to help. And I also get motivated by the businesses that we're still trying to help. You know, I talk to Adventureland on a regular basis. We are still working with the governor's office to get them open. I mean, my heart breaks for that family-owned business that I don't understand. You know, what's the reasoning? They're an outdoor theme park. Everything else is open, you know, indoors. Our catering facilities, people that can't have their weddings and bar mitzvahs and anniversaries. I get motivated by helping those people too, even though we haven't been as successful as we wanted to yet. I can't give up the fight because they need us, you know. So when you're needed and you're valued, that helps. But I'm human like everybody else, and every now and then I take a day off and recoup, you know.
Yeah, it's there are ups and downs for sure, and feeling like we're stuck in the mud is very difficult for people who are trying to build. But you mentioned briefly before, and I want to talk about it a little bit, that COVID has opened up opportunities, right? Opportunities that didn't exist here on Long Island. You know, other guests have talked about in the commercial real estate space how Long Island can certainly benefit from people who are not going to want to commute into the city anymore, but have city-based offices, and therefore it might open opportunities up here. We've seen an influx of New York City residents who are swarming out east in terms of real estate. So talk about some of the opportunities that you see that COVID might have given Long Island that didn't exist prior to it.
Well, I think, you know, just seeing through this, we are in such a better situation than most of my counterparts nationwide. And I talk to my counterparts across the country on a weekly basis. We're members of our trade associations, U.S. Travel Association. They do a tremendous amount advocating for us on the federal level. And then Destinations International, which is the destination marketing organization like mine. We all come together on a regular basis and talk about what we're doing, how we can share resources and ideas, and sometimes just be emotionally there for each other. And so many of my other counterparts. The good thing is, first of all, we have a built-in population of 3 million people that, while we love to complain about Long Island, and the first thing we'll all do is complain about our taxes and the traffic, the next thing we do is talk about how much we love where we live, and really, really vehemently, passionately love where we live, and love our schools and love our communities. And so, you know, the fact that we have a population that rallied around each other and supporting our local businesses was really incredible. Then having our proximity to New York City, when they did reopen, you know, they came out here and really kept a lot of our seasonal businesses alive and continue to extend our seasons. If you look at our occupancy reports, our average daily rate reports, we measure ourselves on something called RevPAR, which is revenue per available room, which combines those two things. We are outpacing not only New York State, but the nation. So I feel very lucky to be in a destination like this anyway, just to get us through. But it also allows, a lot of people only know us for the East End. And we tend to do that ourselves. Oh, the East End is so great, and it is beautiful, but you know, there are so many places around Long Island, which is one of the things I love most about living here. I spent all weekend, I was in Rockville Center, and then there's, you know, so many cute downtowns. I'm still discovering it. I saw the Nautical Mile for the first time last week, and it's so cool. I can't wait till it's like bustling so I can go really experience it. But I think that's the opportunity, is to educate not only Long Islanders about the fact that there's a lot of other things that you haven't seen or done, even though you've lived here your entire life, because you know, and that's just human nature, but also New York City residents and the world, that there are other places to experience and explore and alleviate some of that compression that we have on the East End that isn't always easy for the residents out there to absorb all of that and kind of spread it around to a lot of the communities that need it. So we're doing that. Actually, we have a new a new mobile pass called the Downtown Deals Travel Pass. So it looks like this, and we partnered with both IDAs, the two counties that helped us sponsor this. And it's got 6 different downtowns, and you go on there. You can go to discoverlongisland.com/deals, get your travel pass, and it shows you all the great businesses in these different downtowns that are offering discounts for you to get out and go and explore. And it was pulling teeth to get them to do it. It was like getting them to respond to you during a pandemic, these small businesses. But now we launched it, and everybody loves it. We have over 30,000 visits to our website and over 3,000 downloads. We broke the record for this national platform, and now we have 15 downtowns on our waiting list. So there's a lot of opportunity. When there is a challenge, there is an opportunity to come together. And like you talked about, economic development wise, I see this as a really remarkable opportunity for us to elevate our stature and maybe get people to think about us in a whole new light.
Yeah, so you've been here for 5 years. You came from a different place, and I've spent my entire life, other than the 4 years when I was in the Marine Corps, I spent my entire life here on Long Island, and I can't understand why we as Long Islanders just aren't stronger advocates, right? So I'm from the Three Village area myself. My daughter's a product of Ward Melville. And I look at the Culper Spy Ring, and I look at the Dickens Festival around the holidays, and I look at all that, right? And I always say, we drive and miles and miles and fly to go to places exactly like what we have here, right? Like you have it right here. Why is there such a hesitance? What has your observation been about why? Are we just grumpy New Yorkers? Is that what it is? I never understood why we're not the biggest cheerleaders for our island.
I think everybody wants to be. My experience is everybody wants to be. It's just indoctrinated into us as Long Islanders, and in the media, in our neighborhood forums, and the things that we do. And I think it's been a colorful history here on Long Island about people wanting to believe, but always kind of getting that, oh, there it is again. We're never going to make it. We're never going to be that person. And sometimes we let that negativity drive us. I get it all the time. This literally just happened to me a couple weeks ago. I guess it was in the middle of summer, so my weeks are blending. But I have a license plate. My license plate is Sun Devil because I'm in Arizona State, right? I'm a big Go Devils. So my license plate says Sun Devil, and this gentleman saw me in the parking lot, and he was like, "Oh, I like your license plate." And he goes, "Are you from Arizona?" I said, "Yes, I am." He goes, "Why would you move to Long Island? Why would you leave?" And I said, the beaches. And he goes, "Right." And he was like, "The beaches are awesome." And I'm like, exactly. So it's just that, like I say, it's like that next layer. Everybody wants to. Maybe it's, like I said, maybe it's indoctrinated that people feel that they can't have that pride. But I feel like we're chipping away at that. And that's that Dorothy thing in me too. But it's, when you see it from a visitor's perspective, when I bring my friends and family here, they're like, Long Island is so underrated. It's so beautiful. Like, why aren't you more popular with the world? And I'm like, well, we'll get there. We'll get there. It does take investment. And that's the one thing I would say is, that I've noticed about Long Island, not just from tourism, but from economic development, from a lot of things, is maybe we've been lucky, but we just don't feel the need to compete. We don't compete. And the reality is, in this global marketplace that we now know we're all living in, thanks to COVID, we are global. The things that happen around the world do impact and affect us. We have to compete. You can't just sit back and assume that we're in New York, we're Long Island, we're by New York City, people will just come to us, people will just know. Or we give up, never mind, people are going to leave. So may as well not try. If we compete, I truly believe we can win. And I've seen it happen. So it's just getting people to understand that.
Yeah, I think we're going to see that. So I've always sort of had to kick Long Island business community in its rear end a bit, because I think we get lazy being so close to New York City, and getting that trickle down effect. So we've had it easy. Now with New York City, I think really getting hit so hard from COVID, we're certainly going to have to we're certainly going to have to compete even harder, right? But remarkably, the story we have is well past beaches and vineyards, right? It's Cold Spring Harbor Labs, it's Brookhaven National Labs, it's internationally recognized scientists and developments and inventions that are going on right here on Long Island that nobody wants to talk about or nobody knows about. I mean, we had Bruce Stillman from Cold Spring Harbor Lab on a couple of weeks ago, and it was fascinating discussion as to what's going on there. We're going to have Diane from Brookhaven National Lab, Diane Hatton, to talk about the electron ion collider. All of these things are things that should be driving interest here in Long Island, but we don't talk about them as Long Islanders, or we don't know about them as Long Islanders. So how do we get more of that out? How do we find out more about it? How do we do this?
I think that, that's the thing is we talk about, it's almost like the small town. Long Island is this incredible urban, amazing destination that is right off New York City. And yet I always say, lower the drawbridge. It's a great big world out there, Long Island. We don't just talk to each other. And we all might know about how great Brookhaven National Lab is in Cold Spring Harbor. And there's so much happening there, which is so exciting with Stony Brook. And like you said, the Collider and Discovery Park. I'm going out to Brookhaven National Lab for their new Discovery Park. What's happening with the Long Island Railroad, third rail. We're about to open up access to Grand Central Station, which is going to be just historic, and add so much access. There's so much good, groundbreaking motivation, and forward thinking happening here. I'm excited to be here at this time, but we can't just talk to ourselves about it. You have to talk to other people. And it's so funny, when I was venturing into economic development, which is, I dabbled with it, but I'm not an economic developer, which is why the IDAs, I'm like, I'm just funneling people through, you are the experts. But I was talking to my friends in economic development across the country and trying to tap their brains, like, how do you do it? What do you do? What's your strategic plan? And they were like, oh, but, so do you have any industry on Long Island? I'm like, well, let's see. Have you heard of Estee Lauder? Have you heard of Canon? Have you heard of 1-800-Flowers? Have you heard of the second largest industrial park, second only to Silicon Valley in the country right here? I mean, we have so many. I'm like, Pirate's Booty was developed here. I'm like, every firework that you've ever seen, and Macy's and at the National, at the National Monument, those are done by Grucci fireworks. Those are from Long Island. People are like, oh, we just have to tell it. But it does take money. It takes investment to do that. It takes, foresight. So one of the things I just broached to my board the other day, and it's another one of those opportunity moments, is, we're going to move forward on a destination strategic plan. We're going to take the lead on it. I'm going to need the business community and all of our stakeholders to play a role, because it's not a tourism strategic plan. It's a destination strategic plan. How do we work with economic development? What does this new LIRR mean? What does this new biotechnology corridor mean? What are the county's plans and our waterfront? This is one of the things that makes me crazy as a transplant, is our lack of use of our prime real estate, which is our waterfront. I'm driving down Long Beach the other day, and it's all government industrial buildings. Yep. And when we talk about building things there, we talk about building residents. And I get that that's important and there's a need for that. But if you looked at your economic development and you said, what's going to drive revenue?
Right.
Not just taxing residents, but where do you get the revenue? And you get that from outside people that come in. When visitors come in and they stay at a hotel, they are taxed on where they eat, where they sleep, where they shop, their transportation, and then they leave. And you don't have to educate them, and you don't have to take their trash or fill their potholes. It's just fresh money, and that's what is the revenue that we need to get to help keep our taxes lower. So it's economic development 101, and when we waste or minimize the use of our waterfront, it makes me crazy. It makes me literally, we have all these great main streets, and I'm trying to work with the Main Street coalitions and say, you have all these great main streets and and downtown revitalizations, how do they lead to the waterfront? How are we giving people that waterfront experience? Your Main Street should lead. That's our biggest asset. We're surrounded by water, and it's so hard to see it. You go to California, everything's on the water.
Yep.
Pacific Coast Highway, they really capitalize and maximize on their biggest asset. And, we tend to keep it more for the residents, which I understand as a resident, I value that. But we need to find the places where it makes sense to open that up for real tax revenue generation.
Yeah, I think you're right. And you know what? We're lucky to have brilliant developers that are headquartered here on Long Island, and I suspect what Brooklyn went through, Long Island will have to. It's an economic necessity. This morning I spent some time with the county executive, and sales tax revenue is doing terribly. It really is just a tough time all around. But let me ask you one thing that comes up again and again is a convention center, right? Long Island needs a convention center, and maybe it's a blessing that we haven't had a convention center pre-COVID, because I'm not sure what conventions are going to look like going forward. We're struggling with trade shows and everything else going on. What are your thoughts about that? What are your thoughts about what a convention center would do and what that's going to look like in a post-COVID world now?
Yeah. Well, it's true. I'm grateful right now that we're not a convention destination because they've been hit really hard. Although we did build a $200 and something million field hospital, which we could have utilized, like they did with Javits. But I think that meetings will come back. I think it's going to be different, right? We've all gotten used to this new technology. We've all, it won't ever be like it was before, but meetings will come back because just like when you come back to the office, there's no, and I went back to my gym, not everything can be virtual. There's no substitute for the real thing. And meetings will come back because people need that human interaction and that human exchange of ideas. But the convention center, I definitely think is still needed. And if we start it now, it wouldn't be for the next 3 to 5 years, and we could be poised perfectly for the comeback if we did that. If you look at the first article where I came here, I said we needed 2 things, a convention center. And yes, I think it needs to be at Ronkonkoma. And I was just talking to someone the other day, like, don't say Ronkonkoma, it doesn't need to go there. I'm like, it does, because if we're talking about one of our greatest assets, which is our airport, we're not going to grow that airport by Long Islanders using it to fly to Florida or our annual trip to Vegas. That's not going to be what sustains that airport and increases flights. What it's going to be is the business traveler that is the frequent flyer that pays for the front of the plane, which is where they make most of their money. And if you have a convention center, which is bringing in 3,000 to 5,000 people, for meetings on a regular basis, and they book 1 to 3 years in advance. These meetings don't just happen overnight. So meetings right now are booking for 3 years from now. Then you take that business on the book to the airlines, and you say, this is where they're coming from. They're coming from Chicago. They're coming from Atlanta. They're coming from Charlotte. They're coming from wherever. And that's when you get the direct flights. I'm not making this up. This is what other cities do. Yep. I was just on a podcast the other day with Nashville. Nashville is a completely different city because they built a convention center. Nashville downtown was dilapidated and was kind of a joke. Everyone would go to the Gaylord. Tulsa, Oklahoma was like completely unthought of. And most people think still, when you think Tulsa, you think like tumbleweeds, or it's now a very vibrant business community with major corporations because they built a convention center. And when you build a convention center, and let's say you have a pharmaceutical convention that comes here, the first thing that they say as a meeting planner to save their costs is, who are your thought leaders locally? Because we want to put them on the panel to talk about, they want a local feel and they want to save travel costs of other speakers. So that's how you get that your intellectual capital on a national stage amongst your peers as leaders. So I call it a convention center. I think of it more of a multi-purpose venue that is high tech, that can be a convention center or in an e-gaming venue, because you utilize a lot of the same technology. It could be used for TED Talks. It could be used for indoor sports, something that's really versatile. But I do think that is, I can't believe we don't have it. I can't believe it. With all of the businesses and our proximity to New York City, people want access to it, but they don't necessarily want to be there because of cost and now because of COVID. I think it'd be a huge opportunity. The other thing I think we need is a destination resort. Again, I can't believe we don't have one, coming from a place like I did, where throw a rock and you hit a 300 to 500 room, beautiful resort. People expect it. We're an expensive destination. We are very affluent. We attract a very affluent traveler. When they come here, they expect a certain level of accommodation, and we don't have it. And we have a couple places, because everyone's like, oh, there's no room. Where would that go? And then I'm like, well, Kings Park, waterfront, or Dowling College. And they're like, oh, that's true. That'd be great there. So sometimes it's just planting the seed, I don't know. I know that there's a lot of local challenges, and it's easier to say than to do and execute. But, just knowing that it could be a possibility. If we wanted it to happen, we could make it happen.
And that's exactly why we need you fighting for this, right? Is, we just at HALI, we just got the town of Smithtown the ammunition they needed to pass an overlay district to be able to put 1,000 apartments inside the industrial park to help enhance the live, work, play. And when we first started talking about that, everybody said, it's a random collection of buildings. Nobody's going to want to do anything, right? And they all thought we were nuts. Now it's done. So the things that you're talking about are things that you need to continue to talking about, because you're right. And it's what we need. And it's what's going to move us forward. And what we need to do is take COVID now and say, you know what? These are things that are going to help generate the immense economic development that we're gonna need. People don't want the money for recovery coming out of just their pockets, and tourists are going to help us get that recovery and help our businesses recover even more quickly than they otherwise would. So you have to keep fighting the fight that you're fighting.
Can I just answer? I just saw a chat come through, and I think it's Manny. So this is what I'm saying, right? So we did a perception study that proved this, because I heard this. So he says Long Island is generally known as Nassau and Suffolk counties. No one knows that except for Long Islanders. If you're not from Long Island, you have no idea that it's made up of 2 counties. You think if you look at a map, it says Long Island. And we proved that because we asked on our survey, these are business travelers. We actually threw a trick question in there to prove this. And it was, have you ever been to Long Island, Westchester, this county, this county, this county, this. We threw a bunch of different places in. Connecticut, Hartford, we threw a bunch of in because we wanted to, they didn't know it was a Long Island study. And it's 42% of the people had been to Long Island. Those same people, 12 and 7% had been to Nassau or Suffolk County. They were here, they have no idea what county you're talking about. So again, that's talking about it from a broader brand. People don't know that we're 2 counties and we're made up of all these different towns and all these different places. And they just think of it as, this one big place. That's how we should talk about ourselves. And then once we tell them about Long Island, then we can say, if you're interested in history, or if you like luxury, these are all the great downtowns. And it's a good question about the chambers, which is really what I wanted to address. We do work very closely with the chambers. My counterparts across the country can't believe it when I say I have 120 different chambers of commerce on Long Island that I deal with. They're like, whoa. So we work very closely with the Alliance of Chambers in both counties that are really incredible assets. And then like when we did our Downtown Deals app, we work through the chambers to help get the local businesses on that. And we work with Vision Long Island, with the LIRPC. I mean, if you're out there and you're a regional organization, we are an organization of yes and inclusion, because I need all the tools in my toolbox. I'm not here to say I do this or I work with that. If you can help execute whatever the vision is, and we can do it together, working collectively, our hand is out. So please feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah, so I know there's some statewide legislation, the Tourism Recovery Improvement Districts that's out there. Talk about that, because I think that could be really a game changer.
It is a game changer. So, I talked a little bit about our funding. We're funded by a hotel tax. More than 80% of it goes to government, other uses. And the spirit of a hotel tax, if I had all of the hotel tax that was collected, I'd have an $18 million budget, right? And you go other places, most of them get like 90% of the hotel tax, and a small portion goes for administrative fees. Here, we've been asleep at the wheel for a long time, and so that tax has been used for a lot of other things. Instead of $18 million, I have a $3 million budget. Just to give you an idea where I came from in Arizona, Arizona Office of Tourism has a $27 million budget. That doesn't include the city of Phoenix, which has a 24 million. Scottsdale has 17, Tucson has 17. There's one town in Arizona that has a $3 million budget. It's called Flagstaff, has a population of 150,000 people. So that's what we're up against from a marketing standpoint. But look, I'm not naive enough. I might be like a little Pollyanna-ish, but I'm not naive enough to try and go to the government right now and ask them for tax dollars because everybody's hurting. So we looked at best practices across the country and we said, what is working elsewhere? What are some innovative and unique funding options that could give us a dedicated line of funding that we need that is not coming from the government? And so what we found are called tourism improvement districts. And they started in California more than 20 years ago. They are now in, there's 180 plus of them nationwide. They're in like 17 different states, including all the states around us, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania. They're launching their first one in Massachusetts, Maryland. Everybody has them. And they're wildly successful. So what they are is they're essentially like a business improvement district. That's a successful model. We know everyone that has a bid, they work together. And it allows us to put a private assessment on that hotel folio, which is passed along to the visitor. And then 100% of those dollars come back to benefiting the businesses that are contributing the dollars. So 100% of those dollars would come back to the tourism industry and the businesses and the hotels that are actually collecting and remitting those fees. We're talking about like a 1%, which would still keep us, we're at 3% right now. If you go to New York City, if you go to DC, you're paying 12 to 15%. And we're at 3%. I always laugh. I'm like, the only tax on Long Island that is not astronomical, that we're not capitalizing on, is the one that we're not really paying, that we pay everywhere else we go, and we're just not collecting. So we would still be very low and competitive from that point, because I don't ever want to be on the threshold of being on the higher end of that. But it would be a game changer for us, and it would allow us to be essentially, privately funded, where our dollars right now, especially in the situation that we're in with, as everybody knows, the budget deficits that the counties are facing and the state is facing, our dollars could go away. They can be swept at any moment because they're considered government tax dollars. And our $6.1 billion industry is always at risk of that. So this would be that dedicated funding stream that we would need that could allow us to grow as our industry grows. So to call the Tourism Recovery Improvement District, we have state enabling legislation right now. We just got it a couple weeks ago in the Senate. It's being sponsored by Tim Kennedy from Buffalo. And here we have Kimberly Jean-Pierre in the Assembly, and a tremendous amount of bipartisan co-sponsors here on Long Island. So I thank them for that. And all it is it's just state enabling legislation that would allow the counties across New York State to opt in for one of these tourism improvement districts and establish it on a local level if they want to. There's nothing mandated. There's no dollar amount. It would come back to the counties, and then the counties could decide if they wanted to participate.
Yeah, that's great stuff. I mean, two things there. One, if they try to take away the measly crumbs they're giving you, Kristen, then I'm going to be right out there in the trenches with you, fighting like hell for that. Number one. Two is, I don't understand, and I guess this is just a perception thing. Like, I can't understand for the life of me why they're not viewing dollars that go to you and your organization as business development and marketing dollars, not just for the municipality's sake, but the businesses. Why businesses are so reluctant to understand that you're built-in marketing, you're built-in business development for these industries. With a huge megaphone, a national reach, trying to bring outside dollars into it. I can't understand the resistance and the reluctance, but it's why I was so excited to get you on and tell your story to these businesses, so they start to get it. It's not an expense. It's a marketing and business development dollar that's going to you. So I heard a little bird told me you're launching some Long Island TVs and some podcasts. So talk about what you got cooking over there.
Thank you. Well, our paid advertising is frozen right now still. It's not the time to be marketing tourism out there. People are still, first of all, we care about our residents, and our residents, we're really working in a New York bubble. and we don't want necessarily a lot of people bringing in, outside people coming in. It's still a health situation, and we want to stay safe. So we're looking at ways to communicate that are different and innovative. And right now, video is everything, as we're all at home watching things. So I just was filming our next episode. We're getting ready to launch Long Island TV. It'll be on our YouTube channel, and it's a great way to just show. We actually, a couple years ago, we bought a mobile visitor center. So just like everything else, bricks and mortar are going away. Stores, people like to be mobile, like to get things sent to them instead of them going there. And we noticed that pattern. So we actually bought an ice cream truck, because of course it has to be on brand for Long Island. And we transformed it into our mobile visitor center that goes around Long Island and hands out great information to Long Islanders. And we had a social media contest, and her name was, to name her, and the name was Lily, Lili. So Lily is fabulous. She's our vehicle of information, our literal vehicle. But right now we're not having events. So how can we utilize that asset now to communicate to even Long Islanders all the hidden gems that we just talked about today? And so we have a Long Island TV show hosted by Lily. Lily is your road show, your road trip expert, and she takes you to different places each week. I'm really excited to launch it. I actually went trapezing on Sunday at iFly at Eisenhower Park. I don't know if anybody's done that before, but my 16-year-old daughter was with me, and I nailed it on my first try, so she was very impressed with her mom. It was a fluke, trust me. It was just the crew there that made it so easy. But we're doing super fun stuff all over Long Island. Our next episode is going to be about the Long Island getaways, the LIRRs, putting back out there now for the first time to the vineyards. So video is terrific. We're starting a podcast, as you mentioned, called Long Island Tea. You may or may not know that the phrase that the young people use is called spill the tea. That means give us the scoop, give us the gossip, give us the inside intel. So the Long Island Tea is our next thing. You'll be hearing about that. And we're just trying to reach people where they are, in their homes, in front of their screens, and give them as much information we can about this beautiful place that we're lucky enough to live in, and that people can visit when the time is right.
Yep, that's great. And remarkably, our time is just about ending here. It's been a very, very fast hour. It's great. One thing I love about you is you're thinking big, right? And I think that's what we on Long Island have never done before collectively, is thought big. I love that you're thinking big. I want to give you the last word, something you haven't said, but the only rule is it has to be positive, right? It has to be optimistic and positive. We like to send our viewers off on a high note here. So final thoughts?
Okay, so I would say please follow us on all of our social media channels. We really do talk a lot about our businesses. I think it is very inspirational when you follow our Instagram or YouTube. We also have TikTok channels that have gone viral. And if TikTok goes away, we're prepared to get on to Reels or Shorts or whatever else. We're always on to the next thing, and we want to be relevant. But I just say that, I know that it's not necessarily easy on Long Island or in New York in general, but that's what makes us tough, right? That's what makes it worth it, is that we live here because we want to, not because we have to. And it's a great place, and that we're very lucky. I'm so privileged to be part of this community, and Joe, part of your business community that really, I don't know another destination that really loves the place they call home with such a passion as we do on Long Island. And I just am grateful, and I thank everyone for allowing me the great privilege of being the keeper of that brand.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I don't say this lightly, we need you. We need your organization to survive. We need you to stay on Long Island. We need you to be our #1 cheerleader. Recovery is going to be super hard without you out there leading the charge, Kristen. So we will do everything we can to help make sure that you, that you stay, and I will certainly help however I can, and my firm and my organization are going to help support you through this as well, because we need you. We need you here. Folks, that's going to be it for this week. What a great fast hour that was. Kristen, I want to thank you for your time. The go forward schedule, folks. Next week we are not live because it's going to be the Business Achievement Awards at HILI, and I'll be wrapped up with Terry doing that. The week after that, we have Dr. James Lentini, who's the new president of Malloy College, to discuss higher education and the challenges that they're having there. And then the week after that, on 10/13, we have Diane Hatton of Brookhaven National Lab to discuss the Collider project. So great stuff coming up. Kristen, thank you so much. This was really great to hear from you. We are really lucky to have you. So just keep up the good work, and anything you need, we are here.
Thank you so much to everyone and to everyone that tuned in today. DiscoverLongIsland.com. Please reach out to us. Tourism@DiscoverLongIsland.com if you have any comments or if you want to get involved.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Have a great